You only need one habit to completely and utterly transform your life. To completely shift every aspect of you. To shift you into the most abundantly blessed version of yourself. To become the most consistent and most disciplined version of yourself. To flat out be the best version you can be. And it's not, cold showers. It's not waking up at 5 a.m. It's not journaling. It's not meditation. It's not any of these things. Even though these are fantastic things to add into your life. It's not even, the things I preach the most. Weighted walks, working out, daily photos, none of this. The single greatest habit that you could add will transform every aspect of your life. And the fact that you don't have it is why you're unhappy. It's why you're miserable. It's why you hate your life. It's why everything seems to constantly go to shit. It's why nothing ever works out the way you hoped it would. And it's all due to this one habit. And if you could develop this singular habit, if you could develop this one thing, I can guarantee, 100% guarantee, that your whole life will change for the better. That every aspect of your life will change for the better. It's a bold claim, I know. But I am so confident that if you could develop this one habit, this one skill, that you would never look back again. That you would never have to question whether you're going to reach your goals or not. You will never have to question what results will look like because you just know. So do you want to know what that one habit is? It's the habit of keeping your word. It's doing what you say you will do when you say you will do it. That's it. Simple, right? Nothing to it. Really easy to follow through on. And yet, I would say 99% of people do not. The majority of people do not keep their word to themselves. We've spoken about it before. The reason why people are frustrated and unhappy and miserable in their life is because they lie to themselves. They can't even trust themselves to do what is required. They can't even trust themselves to follow through and do the work. And so if you know that you're a liar, if you know you're not a man of your word, if you know that you say these things and then don't follow through on them, how do you think that makes you feel? Now, it's a pretty self-indulgent, egotistical thing to say, but it's a truthful statement that you are the most important person in your world. That if you aren't functioning, if you aren't being honest with yourself, if you aren't being the best version of yourself, shockingly, that means that the rest of your life is probably in shambles too. And it's the reason why everyone is so miserable with their lives, is because they can't keep their word to themselves. They can't follow through and do what is required. They can't do the work that is necessary. It's that simple. That, like all the things that I talk about, changing your life is really, really fucking simple. Building the life of your dreams is really fucking simple. It's not easy. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. But it's simple. It's straightforward. It's easy to contemplate. It's much harder to enact. It's much harder to put into practice. Because the act of keeping your word will change your life. It'll build your confidence. It'll build your self-respect. It'll build your self-belief. You'll become a more confident, outgoing person. People will trust you more. They'll believe in you more. They'll trust that you can do the things that need to get done And lo and behold, so much of your life will change faster, at a more rapid rate. Because the majority of the time, we know exactly what we need to do in life. Or at least a ballpark of it. The problem is that we don't fucking do it. We don't follow through on our actions, that we don't do the work that's required, even if we say we're going to do it. And don't get me wrong, I benefit from that. My job as a coach is to hold people accountable to the standards and the things they said they would do. That's simple. The majority of the time, people know at least a little bit of what they should be doing. Granted, when it comes to health and fitness, I think there's a lot of crap out there that disserves most people. But you know you need to exercise. You know you shouldn't eat junk food. You know you shouldn't drink alcohol. You know you should do more exercise and less sitting. Pretty basic stuff, right? And yet the majority of people don't do it. The majority of people need to pay someone like me to make sure that you actually show up and do it, to hold you accountable to the standards. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with utilizing a service like that to make sure you're held to the standard. But either you need to start keeping your word, or you need to start paying someone to keep you to your word. But the end is the same. The end result is the same. You need to keep your word to you. That if you say something, if you say you're going to do something, it is done. And I've spoken about this before, and it's a hard one for me to cover, but my wife doesn't believe me anymore. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. And it hurts me. There is nothing I am more ashamed of than the fact that my wife doesn't believe me when I say I'm going to do stuff. But she's not wrong in that opinion. Because for years and years, I didn't keep my word. Fuck, I barely keep my word to myself, let alone to others. And so, it doesn't mean that she doesn't love me anymore. She just learnt that if she wants something to get done, she'll do it herself. And that's a fucking problem. It was one of the big wake-up calls for me when I started this process again, 201 days ago. I was like, I want my wife to believe me when I say I'm going to do something. I want that conviction. But first I had to believe myself. First I had to convince myself that if I said I was going to do something, that I would actually do it. If I said I was going to give something up, I would actually do it. If I said I was going to follow through on something, I would actually do it. I had to shift that paradigm for myself first. I had to show myself that I could keep my word before anyone else would trust me, before anyone else would believe in me, before anyone else would back those claims up. It starts with you. It starts with keeping your word to yourself. And it doesn't matter if they are big commitments or small commitments. You have to keep your word. If you say you're going to wake up at 5 a.m., fucking wake up at 5 a.m. If you say you're going to work out every day, work out every day. If you say you're going to drink a glass of water every day, drink a glass of water. It doesn't matter what the level of commitment is. You cannot afford to not keep your word to yourself. Because it's like the worst credit system under the sun. That every time you keep your word, it's like putting $1 into the bank account. Right? That's good. It's good. And you keep your word to yourself 20 times a day. Fantastic. Look at you, making those little deposits. But every time you don't, it's like taking out $100. Maybe $1,000. The act of not doing it is so egregious and so much harsher than the act of doing it that you cannot afford to miss one. If you say something, it has to be ironclad. It has to be unquestionable that it is happening. And it doesn't matter the cost it takes for you to get it done. It doesn't matter if it means you're staying up till midnight until that shit gets done. That shit is getting done. And this is what separates people. And this is what aligns the successful. And it's what stops so many people from being successful. Because they can't trust their own words and they don't do the work that is required. It's not complex. It's incredibly simple. Incredibly simple. Simply put, if you say something, it gets done. End of story. But it's not easy. Because we make micro commitments all day, every day. We say these things all the time. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to change my health. I'm going to become the fittest, strongest, healthiest version of myself. Monday rolls around. Oh, this came up. That happened. And you don't fucking do it. And this is the gap. This is why you keep having these problems. It's why you're unhappy. It's why you hate your life. It's why you're fucking miserable. And it's why you can't work out why your life isn't panning out the way you know it should. Because you're not doing the things that you know you should. You aren't keeping your word. You're not holding true to the things that have to get done. You're just a fucking liar. And nobody trusts a liar. So why would the universe deliver onto you the life that you want if you can't keep your word to yourself? And what's worse is when you tell the world that you did the thing. That you said, yeah, I kept my word. But you know, deep down inside that you didn't. And that's so much worse. Because you can't escape you. You cannot get away from you. You have to keep your word to you at all times. Because you'll know. You'll always know if you haven't kept your word. You'll always know if you didn't do the work that was required. You'll know this as a fact. You can lie to the world, you can lie to your wife, your kids, your friends, your family, those that you serve. You can lie to everyone, but you know that you didn't do what you said you would. And I think that one's even worse because it eats away. It eats away at who you are. It eats away at your character, at your soul, at your trust level in yourself. As I said before, if you can't trust you, who the fuck can trust you? If you know that you're not going to keep your word every time you give it, how is anyone else supposed to trust you in that? They can't. It's why this is the single greatest skill, the number one skill that will transform every aspect of your life. Because it impacts every aspect of your life. It shows up in every aspect of your life. It's what separates winners and losers. It's what separates the greats from the average. It's what separates the ones who hate their motherfucking lives and those who love it. That they say they're going to do something, they do something. And that's the difference. It's so simple, and yet it's so difficult to implement. And as always, I come to you not as preaching from on a high, but as a deeply flawed human being who's struggling with this. As I said, my wife doesn't trust me anymore. It's 200 days in, and I'm still rebuilding that trust. It's probably going to take me years to rebuild it, because it took me years to break it. But it comes from doing the work, from keeping your word. And then as you get better at it, setting harsher and harsher tasks and holding true. Setting more outlandish things that are hard to follow through on. But you said you would, therefore you did. That's it. It's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And it's why I teach Chasing Greatness. It's why we start with a 30-day challenge. Because we're going to start with you picking that first habit, that singular habit, and for 30 days in a row, rain, hail, or shine, you are getting it done. And then we stack a second one, and then we stack a third one, and then we stack a fourth one, and then we stack a fifth one, and then you're ready for 126 to greatness. But it is a process. You have broken the process so far, and you are not ready to step fully into keeping your word. It is such a gigantic shift when you are not adapt and used to keeping your word on that level. So we have to start at the beginning. So, no, the habit of weighted walks or working out or cold showers or eating an animal-based diet or any of these things in a singularity won't completely change your life. But the act of committing to them, being held to a standard, to following through, to doing the fucking work every single day, zero choice mentality, no questions asked, day in, day out, building on that, stacking your wins, building credibility with yourself. That is how you start to win. That is how you start to build that skill. That is how you start to transform your life. And it's what I talk about with this. Yeah, we do these weighted walks and we do the animal-based diets and we do the workouts. You're going to drop some unbelievable levels of body fat. You are going to build an incredible physique. You're going to start looking and feeling amazing, and the confidence is going to grow, and your mental capacity and your fortitude and your grit and your discipline will skyrocket, and you will start to feel better and better and better about yourself. But these are the incidental side effects of this. The true greatness, the true exceptional level that allows you to step from chasing greatness to 126 to greatness to the greatness club is the ability to keep your motherfucking word. To be able to show up every single day and keep your word. That if you commit to a task, you know it's getting done. That if you say it's going to be done, it's done. That you build this credibility within yourself. That you build this rapport. That you know what is required and that it will get done. This is how you separate yourself. And that's why it's a process. It's why it's not a flash in the pan thing. It's why it builds on itself. It's why we stack the wins. Because you cannot get there overnight. Well, some people can, but the majority of people are not going to turn up one day and go from 0 to 1,000 overnight. That you have no history or credibility of keeping your word. And then suddenly you're like, woo, look at me. Here are all these brand new habits, and I'm just going to keep my word on all of them for 126 days in a row. No, it's not how it works. It's not how you're going to show up. And it's not how you're going to close it out. So we stack the wins. We build upon it. We make it a process that you can win on a daily basis. And we stack the wins and we stack the wins and we stack the wins. It's stacking the wins and learning to keep your word. And then 30 days you'll be already seeing changes. 60 days you'll be gobsmacked at how far you come. 90 days you'll be a different man. 126 days you will be leading your best life. And this is how it starts. But it starts with a commitment. It starts with keeping your word on one task and letting it spiderweb out from there. This is how you change your life. This is how you transform it. And this is how you build yourself into a man of character, of discipline, of grit, of fortitude, who is able to do anything and everything that you set your mind to and that you say you're going to do. This is what separates you. So my friend, if you are ready to take that step, if you are ready to build the greatest habit, the habit that is going to transform every single aspect of your life, then shoot me a message. Let's get you into chasing greatness, my first 30-day challenge. Let's begin that process and see who you can become. If you're not quite ready for that, click the link in my bio, grab my top 10 tools to transform your mental toughness, and join the daily greatness. Lastly, if you found value of this, if you know someone else who could benefit from it, please like, comment, subscribe, and share it. Help me spread this word. Help me get this out there. Help me transform more lives. Help me lead by example, because I'm here every single day. There's a new podcast every single day to help teach you, to share this wisdom. And not because I'm better than anyone, but because I've been through it and I am just that little bit further down the road than you. So until next time.